Steve, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can, Bill, just a second.
Okay.
Okay, everything is live now. We're recorded. Bill, I can hear you. So we can go to your committee first if you'd like.
Sure.
I know just for information, Ms. DeMarco is likely not to be on tonight. There's a chance, but it's probably not going to happen. And also Mayor Porco called a little while ago. He has a personal matter to attend to. He may get on later, but he said not to worry, he may not be on at all. So just so you're aware of that. But I believe everyone else is here. So planning and zoning is the first one up, if you're okay, Mr. Belay.
Yes, I am.
Okay, I just have two items. The first item is my usual reminders, and there's no changes in any of them. Outstanding items, those are all status quo. The second item, vacant property recovery program. If you remember a few years back, council agreed to get involved in that program through the county. And there is a property now, a property owner is seeking to take over a strip of land that's vacant next to him, next to his property. And I attached all the documentation that was sent to me from the county, including a sample resolution that council would have to pass on June 16th. It's pretty standard. This is a property on Windsor Avenue. And again, your notes should have everything. I'm not going to show it on screen because I'm not sure if it's private or not. And so, and it's also several pages long, but there are photos there with it to show the adjacent property. It's a strip of land next to this homeowner's property. And in order to take it over, he has to have everything double checked that there's no outstanding issues as far as code enforcement or building inspection
I made a mistake.
issues. And also he has to make sure that council is approving of the takeover by the resolution. I know Mr. Corbel has said that these things are pretty routine. I don't know if you need any more information. I'm sure he can fill you in. If there's no objection, though, what I would do would be put this on the June 16th meeting for a vote. Any issues from anybody?
Here's Marcus, just to make clear, basically we benefit out of that because we get more tax revenue out of that, because then they will get taxed for the full property. Huh?
Right, and he's taking over property that's probably been delinquent in taxes. It's again not sizable. It's a narrow piece of property next to his, but it's still it does increase it slightly. And if he does any kind of improvement, that of course even increases it more. Anybody else? So I will have it on for a vote. The resolution that you see, the draft resolution for a vote on the 16th. And Mr. Burley, I have nothing else unless somebody has anything for me.
All right. Thanks, Steve.
Sure.
Anything else? All right. Don, you're on.
Yeah, I'm here, Bill.
Okay. You're next.
Okay.
All right.
Back in April, I had mentioned that I sent out 12 violations for sidewalk repairs on the Greensburg Pike from Carl to Fillmore. And as of today, 11 of the 12 are taken care of. They're repaired or replaced. I only have one more to go and I'll take care of that. But it went very smooth. I didn't have any complications whatsoever.
That's good.
Back in on the 3rd of this month, I sent the new property owner of 21 Marion Avenue, which is the house that's been boarded up for some time. I sent him a letter and I'd like to read it. It's very short and I'll just read it real quick. It has come to our attention that you recently purchased the property at 21 Marion Avenue in Forest Hills Borough. Please be aware of the following concerns the borough has with the exterior of the property. And I listed all the violations that I felt that had to be taken care of. Last year, the borough began condemnation proceedings for this property and did not complete the process. Please let me know in writing what your timeline is for renovating the property to bring it up to code. By doing the necessary renovations, it can remove our list of properties that are considered for demolition. Please respond to the notice as soon as possible and to interrupt the condemnation process. Monday, the gentleman called me. He got my letter. He called me, he apologized, and he said that he will take care of the exterior as far as the weeds and the grass right away. And he will send me a letter telling me everything that he's going to do to the property and when he's going to do it. So I think we're on the right track.
All right.
Okay.
The mouse again.
Right.
Look what happened.
Thanks, Don.
Can I add one thing to that, Mr. Brule? If it's
Yes.
okay?
Sure.
Just to remind you, this had come up last week when Mr. Gilliland had notified you that the grant that we had applied for condemnation, for demolition of this property was almost near approval. And he also reminded you that if this one is not handled, if this property owner does decide that he or she will
Have a
take
hand with
control and correct issues, that you may be able to select an alternate property and it still may qualify for the grant. So I don't know if Mr. Branzell has any alternates, but I asked him originally that he and Mr. Gillen should get together and talk so we can do this in a timely fashion so that there is a chance that we would still get the 19,000 plus for demolition of some other property if that is something that's required.
Anything else?
Yeah,
Yeah.
just this month, I
Mhm.
issued 7 citations that I filed this month alone. And I have 4 court hearings on Thursday. So that's where we are. That's all that I have.
Okay, thanks, Don. Anything else?
Mhm.
Tommy, you have anything to add?
No, thanks, Don. Just if you could just guess that list, I don't think there are any other properties at least that I know of worthy of demolition.
There might be, but I'll make sure, discuss this with Dave Gillen and make sure that everything's handled properly.
Yeah, if you could just check on that, because obviously the way 21 Marion's going, we're not going to demolish that. I mean, this guy's probably going to fix it up and make a large sum of money on the way.
He had 2 buyers for it and he lost both of them. So,
Mhm.
but he's a flipper. So
Yeah,
we'll get there.
as long as they're working on it, we're going to benefit more in the long run with it still being there. Obviously,
Right.
tearing it down and becoming a vacant lot that we're cutting the grass on.
Yeah, cutting the grass. That sounds good. Anything else for planning and zoning? Okay, well, Steve, we're done.
Okay, I need a few seconds and then we'll go to Finance Committee. Just hang on with me if you would for a minute. Okay, Mr. Erblinger, Mr. Gorel, you're both on the committee. Ms. DeMarco is not available, as I mentioned. Are you both okay with me beginning? I'm okay with finance.
I'm good too.
Okay. Bill Gorel, you're okay, so? Okay, I'm not hearing him. I don't know if he's on or not. Okay, well, my report isn't going to be super long unless you have some questions. Let me first tell you that I did give you a cash flow update for cash through the end of May. It's the red line that you see on the screen. It's about in the middle, about average for where we have been in the past 5 or 6 years. So it's in good shape, cash overall. I don't see a problem with it at all. As I mentioned last month, we were a bit ahead in April. Again, a picture and a point in time, but it's still a very positive picture. And I did give you account summary detail also attached. It looks like this. This is the expenditures and this is the revenues. And I'm not going to keep this on for long because you all have this on your notes. And anybody who wants to see it from the public can stop in and talk to me if they'd like. I do want to mention that when you're looking at the detail that Treasurer Wendy Archer will give you through May, and she'll do that probably in a few days to a week. Usually she gets it done before the business meeting. you'll notice there's an amount of $482,587 in both miscellaneous revenues and miscellaneous expenditures. This has to do with just pension money transfers. We use the general fund to transfer money in and out. If you recall, there is in addition to normal payments, there is a fund that we keep extra cash in for the pension funds. That we use that to accumulate funds. When I say extra, I don't mean that there's extra money lying around. I mean it's accumulating in that fund, and she uses those two line items to transfer the money back and forth. So that's why you'll see the same number in both expenditures and revenues under the miscellaneous category. If there's no questions about cash flow, I'll go on to my next item. Okay, capital improvements plan. This is just a reminder. Everybody got a copy of my memo for 2022 preparation of the new plan. And as I mentioned last month, we're doing a simplified version. I'm not going to go into it all again, but please, council members should also feel free to add or adjust to any of the line items that are there. I know the bond issue, which we'll talk about in a little bit, could be an issue here too, but we'll get to that after my report's over. But in any case, you should feel free to add or subtract anything you want for capital items for years 2022 through 2026. That's all I have on that, unless you have a question on that. Okay, the third item I have, just again, another informational item only, delinquent collections and water shutoffs. As you know, as of the end of April, as of May 1st, council's extension on allowing people to freeze delinquencies and payments expired. And so, of course, staff now will begin the process of going after the delinquents. Again, not taking into account those frozen months. Those frozen months are do not add into the delinquency or the water shutoff issue. But anything from now on that was delinquent before has not been settled and is now starting again delinquent after that time period, we're beginning to collect. Item D, some outstanding items I want to point out to you. They're all kind of important. Well, there's two of them really. The first one has to do with the actuarial valuation report. You had asked Mock and Hop after they'd given you a summary of about, I think in February, if I'm not mistaken, to review and give you rather some detail on where the pension plans stand. They sent that to us just a couple of days ago. I emailed out to everybody this afternoon, and it will be on the agenda for finance in July. So you have time to look at it. If you want, after you look at it too, you may want to request that Colleen Deere from Mock and Hop attends this meeting either via Zoom or in person, however you want to do it. But I know you're going to need some time to read this. That just so you know, she did give you earlier letters as part of that, in addition to the June letters for both the police and the non-uniform. So don't be confused when you see February dates and April dates. That's the previous letters for your reference. The new letters are dated June. Any questions? Yeah, Bill?
Yeah, I've looked over these, this report, if that's what you want to call it, and it appears as though it's exactly the same as it was back in February. So I'd ask everybody to take a look at it, and there's only one item in the report that could be a problem, and that's the our return on investment, basically our investments in the stock market. I don't know how many years ago it was, but the stock market went south on us, and that caused us to have a problem with the pension plan for about 5 years until we recovered. And I'm hoping that that doesn't happen again. But all of the other recommendations are basically the same, if I read it correctly. And so whenever we come back in as a group, I think we should be basically approving what the recommendations were presented originally. So if I'm incorrect, let me know. Shoot me an email saying I've looked over it and your assumptions aren't correct. But this is the problem we run into. Everything's fine, and then you get to the market, and if it bottoms out on us, that is what can be the one factor that can cause us some problems. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Tomasic. Anybody else have any? Again, you're just getting this to look at, so I realize you may not have had a chance. I've only skimmed it through myself, and I agree with what Mr. Tomasic saying. It looks almost identical to what we saw before, but it is something you have to approve since they're changing the valuation, so you should take a look at that. The second item I have under outstanding has to do with the federal funds under the American Rescue Plan, or the ARPA plan. And I've had this on here for a couple months, mainly because it is still very confusing in that we still have not gotten specific directions from Treasury, and we still have not gotten the money yet. So let me take just a couple minutes to explain what's going on here. I gave you some detail on here you can read. I'm not going to go over it all. One of the things I attached to your notes is a letter from Campbell Durant where they summarized what they saw in the ARPA plan as of mid to late May. So you can read through that. I highlighted just a couple of the key points. Basically, the problem has been that there are two distinct entities here, and they've been very confusing. First, Treasury is the one issuing the money. And so if I could, again, just take a couple minutes, Treasury required us to go through a lot of hoops to sign up with them. And we were told we should do that. And that included getting my driver's license and social security number, which I was not happy about. After going through all that, though, I find out that when I'm done, Treasury really didn't want to talk to me. They just wanted my information because Treasury is not going to dispense the money to us. The money is going to go to the states, and the state is going to dispense the money. So the second thing we did was PA, Department of Community and Economic Development, finally issued their requirements. It only gave us 5 days to get the stuff ready. And some people also, we also had to include something called a SAM number, which is a number that the federal government uses for their contracts. And I forget what SAM stands for, but it doesn't really make any difference. Luckily, we had that from years ago, and I just had to update it. Some places don't even have it. And we had to fill this out in 5 days. Wendy took care of doing that. I helped her a little bit, but mainly the treasurer handled most of it. And so we do have that in, although they're still asking us questions about different things, bank accounts and things like that. So that's not been finalized yet. Regardless, we're now told that for sure we are supposed to get $659,206.70 over 2 years. So in other words, half 1 year, half should be coming to us, should have come to us in May, still hasn't, and the other half will come next year. And we will have until the end of 2024 to complete it. And the general areas that you're allowed to spend the money on, DCD summarized for us, and I included it on your notes. You may remember that Ms. DeMarco, since she's chair of this committee, has said in the past, she's recommended using it for sewer infrastructure, and that's certainly one of the options, but you have others. But the problem I'm finding is, again, that the categories are broad and they're not giving us specifics because, and we need to know that because if you don't spend it the right way, they will, when they audit us, which they will do, they will require us to repay it. I've asked the intern that we're using, who's helping us with citizen engagement, to assist a little bit in reviewing this with the Treasury and see if he can find some of the information, because again, all that we've had so far has been draft information on how the money is to be spent. So I just suggest you take a look at it. The decision will be council's as to how to spend it. It will be probably this committee. And again, you'll have until the end of 2024 to do it. So there is plenty of time. It's just a question of getting all these questions answered. Marcus, did you
If I have a question?
Yeah.
If we invest into sewer, would that lower our sewage rates for our residents? Would we kind of indirectly get some money back to our residents?
Well, that would depend on you. I mean, you guys could decide that we're going to use this money rather than the sewer fee money, and you could lower the fee if you like,
Or
or
partially,
something. Or
yeah.
that would be up to you. But again, I want to be careful in knowing what the Treasury is saying, because they may look at that as an indirect payment to public, which they may be happy about or they may not be. So that's the real problem. Bill?
I had spoken with Patty, and I agree that if there's any segment that we should be looking at, it would be that. But I don't believe that we would want to be using the money to reduce the rates or give money back to the taxpayers, or if that's the term we should be using. I just think it should be used as an investment moving forward so that we don't have to increase rates.
Yeah, but
that we
indirectly,
have to.
it's still helping our taxpayers too. Because we have a to-do list for the sewer, and if we pay some of it, yeah, okay. But that's probably the biggest chunk, because our COVID-related expenditures is probably less than 50,000, just guessing. You know,
Right.
the only way to invest that money is probably doing that. Water, sewer, broadband, bullet. Okay.
Okay, so unless you have any questions for me, I would read through my notes, read through that article from, and there's plenty of information online if you want to see more detail. As soon as we get specifics from the treasurer, I'll make sure you know about that right away, though. It's very possible that this treasurer will just turn the draft into the final. I don't know, but hopefully we'll find that out sooner rather than later. But until we get the money, won't make any difference. We are going to put the money into a separate fund. Actually, DCD argued with our treasurer about that. They said, oh no, you should just put it in with your regular money. And we said, no, we want to make sure we track it. We're going to be audited. I don't have anything else, but I am going to talk a little bit about the bond issue item 2, bond issue items, if you don't have any other questions for me.
No.
No, okay. Let me put this on screen. This is the same.
I thought we talked about that already.
Well, we didn't. Well, yes, we have. We started it, but council didn't make any final decisions. That's why I'm just raising it now. Sorry, I'm having a bit of a trouble sharing my screen here. I think this is it now. Yeah, this is the list I gave you. What you just need to do very simply is pick and choose how you want to spend bond issue money. These are the capital items that we've identified so far. This page, and I've attached both these to your notes, and this page. And again, I know we've gone back and forth on this. We just haven't specifically picked out projects. That's what you need to do.
I think Patty requested feedback from us, so I gave her mine. Like mathematically, Westinghouse Rec and 2 public works trucks add up exactly to that amount. So
Okay.
I don't know what Patty's plans are.
I hadn't heard that, Marcus, so I'm sorry. Maybe she would have brought that up tonight. I don't know.
Yeah. But she asked for everyone for feedback, so I guess she has something.
Well, let's do this. If anybody else has any suggestions, I know you're getting tired of me to bring this up, but if anybody else has any suggestions, make sure you send it to Patty during the next month, so that the July meeting, I'll put this on the screen again, and hopefully you can decide that, or decide whether Marcus's ideas are good or not, or whether you want to add something different. We just need to take direction from you. Now, again, you still have plenty of time. I mean, you have 3 years to spend that. We're probably in the middle of year 1 right now, toward the end of year 1. So you still have a couple of years. It's not going to be hard to spend 85% of the money.
Yes.
Bill?
Yeah, I would just suggest that if you are sending any emails concerning this issue, that you send them to Patty and also to Mr. Morris.
Okay.
So that he
I think I
has a
did.
listing.
But I think I did, but I can
I didn't see it, Mark, but
Whatever the
that's
case,
okay.
I think if they both have them, it's easy for us to bring them up.
basically, if you do the math, all the Westinghouse Rec items and 2 trucks add up perfectly to that amount.
Okay, I don't have anything else on that item, and I'm done if you want to move on to the item 3, unless somebody has a question. I'm finished then.
Yeah. So,
Did you want to talk about the financing trees? You folks had asked me a couple months ago to put this on the June agenda about financing tree service and some alternatives. I know it talked, people had talked, for example, about using a millage or doing some other funding for trees. It's not something you have to decide tonight, certainly, but you'd ask me to put it on in June.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think we need to do anything. Bill Gore, do you have any comments or?
No, I don't have any comments. I had asked you to put that on there, Steve. Just as something that for us to think about as a whole going
Okay.
forward, because the trees are becoming an issue as they just continue to grow. So if you could just leave it on there, I'd like to get Patty's input as well.
And I
I'll
think
do
we
it.
wanted to have tree and shrub committees input too, like how much money they think we would need as like a budget. So I think we're waiting for that too.
I will mention that to Don to remind him. So they'll be meeting again soon, and maybe he can have it in time for the July meeting. I'll keep this item under outstanding items like I typically do with other committees.
Okay.
Okay. I think that was all that I had, unless somebody has something else for the committee.
I don't have anything.
Mr.
I don't
Moore,
either,
you're-
Steve.
Okay.
I guess we're done with finance.
Okay, give me a few seconds and I will get to committee of the whole. Just a few seconds, please. Okay, I'm good, Mr. Tomasic, if you want me to get started with the manager's update, okay? First item, Three Rivers Wet Weather gave us their monthly report a little bit late, so I didn't have it for Public Works as I ordinarily would for Mr. Gorel's committee. But they are publishing their latest sewer rate survey results. And you can find this on their website. Anybody who's listening that doesn't know, just look up Three Rivers Wet Weather as a search and you'll be able to find it. But they have all the information for what they call the three basins. The eastern basin is where we are, and I'll show you some of those numbers here on the screen for a minute or two. Maybe I had it here. There we go. They break it down by community and what the sewer rate is. They do several different comparisons of the sewer rate. This one is a chart that shows what the rate is, how much somebody pays quarterly for approximately 12,000 gallons for each community. And you can read the detail on the side there that explains how to read it. They also give you an example of rates based on household median. And they summarize the rates in a spreadsheet as well. And you can find the other two basins also there. All of them are available for anybody to look at. We're about in the middle, if you look at it, as far as our rates. We're not the highest, we're not the lowest. As far as our rates and how much comes in from the sewer fee to our corrective action budget. But I wanted to make sure you saw that and were aware of it. Most people's fees have not changed if you look at those charts. Now, I didn't bring up the southern or northern basins. You can see them if you'd like to look at them on that website. threeriverswetweather.org is what you're looking at. Three Rivers, 3 with the number 3, riverswetweather.org, and then do a search for sewer survey, and you'll find that if you want to look at it. Anybody have any questions about that? Okay, my second item is the library agreement. I brought this up under borough property and mentioned that I was going to just raise this briefly when Mr. Corbett was present. The library wants to enter an agreement with Duquesne Light, or DQE Communications, regarding installing new fiber system for the library. That wouldn't happen until 2022. But they have the agreement now, and for some reason she wants it signed as fast as we can. And because it's an agreement, and because usually council reviews them and the solicitor reviews them, I sent them to Mr. Corbett to review. I gave you a copy of it last week under borough property. I have the copy of again here. Essentially, we have to sign it because we own the property, and DQE is agreeing that they will take care of things here. They will take care of costs. They will clean things up, etc., and make the installation as painless as possible for us, following our security procedures. So Mr. Corbel has reviewed it, I believe. I don't know if you want to say anything about it, Mr. Corbel, or not.
No, I reviewed it. I'm okay with it. If council approves, I think that they can move forward.
So you don't need to vote on this necessarily, unless you insist on it. If it's okay with, if nobody has any objection, I would just have Mr. Tomasic would sign it, and then we go from there. Marcus?
I have a question. Is that agreement primarily like a legal agreement, or is it like some technical issues? Because if there are like some technical questions, issues, I wonder, Angelo, our IT consultant, if he maybe should look at it too.
No, it's all just an agreement that they can come. We're letting them in the building.
Okay,
that they're
but
going
it's
to
not a
check
legal,
the cable.
it's just legal stuff. Okay, not
Legal,
technical.
yeah. Yeah. Okay, so we'll move on from there, and but I just want to make sure you folks were aware of it again. The third item I have
Steve,
yeah,
hold
I'm
on.
sorry. Go ahead.
So we should let her know that we're going to move in that direction.
Yeah, I'll let her know tomorrow. Right. PennDOT also had something for the council president to sign. You're already aware of the fact that we are asking them to take care of a sewer line adjustment that needs to be made whenever they come in to do their Route 30 work. If you recall, it's about, I think 50,000 is our share, something like that, 50,190, or 25% of the cost. So they finally got all the calculations done, and they just asked that we sign off on the paper. So I have one present here for Mr. Tomasic to sign off on. I just really want to inform you that you've already agreed to go ahead and do that. So there's nothing new there, but I want to let you know that it's before us. Two more items. Item D, regarding opening meetings to in-person attendance. You would ask me to consult with Keith Morris, and I've done that. And there have been a couple of different suggestions from members of council, including continuing to hold committee meetings this month at least via Zoom, possibly into the future for committees via Zoom, and then consider tonight whether or not you wanted to begin opening the building to meetings, starting with the June 16th meeting or a later meeting. Keith pretty much said it's up to you. He did tell me to tell other boards and committees like Planning Commission, et cetera, that after July 1st, they could begin meeting in the building if they wanted to. He said they don't have to. They can continue to meet by Zoom if they want. He said the same thing for council. You can continue to meet by Zoom for now if you want, until the state changes that. And I don't know, Mr. Corbel, you haven't heard anything from the state yet, have you, about that change?
Well,
Okay. So
one of the things I was going to raise under my solicitor report was that the State House moments ago voted to rescind the emergency disaster declaration.
Okay.
And so the council's authority, legal authority for boroughs to meet virtually exists in Act 15 from last year. And that law is specifically tied to the continuance of the emergency disaster declaration. So if that were to go away, we would be required to meet in person. At least a majority or a quorum of council would be required, because that's the rules under the existing borough code. Now, there is also a bill pending in Harrisburg that will change that requirement and bring boroughs in line with first and second class townships. So
Okay.
my view is that, you all should be thinking about getting back in the building, and there may be a legal obligation to do so as soon as our meeting next Wednesday. I'm just not sure. I will be monitoring it and will obviously advise you as necessary. But I think you need to be ready to get back into the building for meetings as soon as practical.
As you can see from my notes, Keith pretty much left that outside of the state, left that up to you. He said you could come in with normal capacity, require masks, keep restrooms open, You can read my notes. I'm not going to go through all those, but he said it just depends on what you want to do and how you wanted to do it. And again, based on whatever the state says we have to do and when. So I guess what you folks need to decide is the June 16th meeting going to be in person or one more Zoom? And what are you doing come July with committees? Will you be doing them still by Zoom or not? I just need to know so we can get ready.
Marcus?
I mean, since legally we may have to change anyway last minute, so I think we should plan to have our business meeting in person. And I think Steve Corbett, correct me if I'm wrong, I think our committee meetings, since they're non-voting, we can keep doing on Zoom.
Well, I would say the answer to that is maybe. I guess the only issue would be when you meet in committee of the whole, that's all of council meeting and making recommendations. So
I guess then we should do everything in person then. All right.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably the safest route to go. But if you all want to go down the path of virtual meetings for committee meetings, I can dig into that a little bit more.
Okay, so first of all, number one, we need to prepare for in-person on the 16th. And basically, I think that maybe without having to have a back and forth and so on, that we just simply decide to go on the 16th with an in-person. Okay, so number two would be the committee meetings. Mr. Corbel has to look into that for us to see if maybe we could even do one night of committee meetings on Zoom. If that's acceptable, Mr. Corbel, could you look into that for us, please?
Yep.
To see if that's the situation that I like the Zoom concept in terms of the recording of the meetings and having access to them either during or after. I think that's a very positive thing for involvement with our constituents. Number three, Mr. Corbel, since we got you up on this. What about our declaration and our resolution, the declaration made by the mayor and the resolution that we passed? Are they going by the boards now? Do we have to officially rescind them or what? Because if so, I would like to make sure that's on the agenda for the 16th.
No, they wouldn't go by the wayside because our declaration is different than the state declaration. So it's up to council whether to continue it.
Okay, well, I would like to have a discussion on that and eliminate both the resolution and the declaration if that is our position to do so. Marcus?
I agree. Just to simplify things, if the state goes back to normal, we should go back to normal as well. So I think we should have a resolution to go back to normal.
I'll just also say that the vote in the state house could end up in litigation over whether or not, because this relates to the constitutional amendment that was passed in the primary. So, there are signals of potential litigation from the governor, et cetera. So I'm not sure it's going to go away, but, I think if you all want to rescind your disaster declaration, you can certainly do so. But I would not say do it next week just because this thing is happening in Harrisburg right now. I think we're, when you think about it, once the mask mandate goes away, I think everything is gone away. And the number is a 70% number that you're looking for. So that should be in the offing in the next month or two. So I don't see the need to tweak and get rid of that resolution next Wednesday. Certainly able to if you like, but I think the opportunity to do so will present itself in the next 30 to 60 days, one way or the other.
Well, we could certainly bring it. I mean, is anybody opposed to elimination of this? Is there any opposition to it?
The only thing is we want to check with Keith. A lot of these declarations have to do with funding and things of that nature. You're getting money from the state or the feds, whatever it might be. Just make sure from Keith's perspective, it doesn't matter anymore.
Oh, I agree 100%. We've never done anything out without consultation with Keith.
Me too. In my mind, that's the only valid reason for us to keep going with that resolution, like with that emergency declaration. If there are any federal funding or state funding, if we would put in danger that I don't believe so, that $600,000, we definitely should keep it. But if there's no funding, nothing negative about it, I don't think we need it anymore.
Okay, Mr. Morse, would you please contact Keith and talk to him
Yeah.
about this?
I will. I
And
have-
get his opinion as to whether or not we should do it on the 16th or wait till July.
I'm sorry, wait, back up. Do what? How old the meeting you mean, or
No, ask him
about
about,
rescinding the declaration? Okay. all
right, and if there is any negative, even if there's some possibility, he should let us know, and then we can just hold it off until July. So,
That's fine. I have two questions if we're going to meet in person on the 16th. The first one is, do you want the chairs and everything back to normal? Do you want masks available for people? Do you want any restrictions at all? We are following Keith's for the office, by the way, and we do have restrictions like masks and things like that. I just
How
need to
about-
know how you want the thing set up.
how about if we just have you discuss that again with Keith, and whatever he suggests, we follow those recommendations?
Okay. My second thing is, if you want to do it still using Zoom to live stream the meeting, the live meeting, I believe I can do that at least on a trial basis. I'm not quite set up for anything else yet. I believe I can do it on a trial basis. It may mean that I would have a laptop computer in the corner of the room right now, which would show the whole council table and the podium from just one angle, one side. It also may mean, and I'm not sure yet, that I may have to sit in here to run the meeting and not be in the council room, which is fine with me if you want to try the live stream. I know Angelo and I discussed this. He's probably listening right now, and we're going to talk a little bit more about this, about how we might set this up later. But I have no problem with being in here if necessary. Mr. Corbel could always call the roll if that's okay with you, or the votes if that's okay with you. I just would not be on the meeting if I'm in here. I'd be just controlling this live streaming.
Well, we have two options there. Number one, we could simply go with the in-person meeting and then put that method that you're talking about in place next month at the committee meetings. If that would be acceptable to everybody, we'll just run the in-person, and then at the committee meetings that start in July, we would then try to incorporate what Mr. Morris was explaining. Marcus?
I have a question to Steve Corbel, like legally. Can we say if you're fully vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask? If not, you have to wear a mask. Are we allowed, like Kennywood is doing that, for example. They don't enforce it. They just don't ask anyone to show their CDC card. They just say, fully vaccinated, don't need to wear a mask. If you're not vaccinated, you should wear a mask. Can we do that?
Under the current guidance, yeah, you would be permitted to do that.
Okay.
But it's up to the borough. You set the policy for your room. And I'll also it's just like going to Giant Eagle or wherever, it's basically on the honor system. So.
Yeah. So I think I would suggest, if everyone agrees, we do that. People who are not vaccinated, not fully vaccinated, should wear a mask.
I would put that on a sign too, then at the entrance.
Yeah. And we have to put it on the website somewhere anyway, that we're going back to in-person council meeting. We should say it's there.
No, we've actually already advertised meetings as either Zoom or in person. So,
Okay.
I mean, we could put it on there just that we're doing it. We don't have to do any formal thing as far as that, because
Definitely having a sign would be a good idea.
All right.
I'll ask Keith then, and I'll put that, whatever I need out, and I'll let you know in advance, hopefully.
Okay. And one
ahead.
last item on that. We're talking about an executive session at this in-person meeting after it, excuse me. And we will be talking about the contract negotiations and some legal issues and personnel issues at that time. I think I've covered everything, Mr. Corbel, that we're going to be talking about.
Yes.
Okay, so that announcement is made.
Okay.
Yes, Mr.
Yeah, the last item, I'm sorry, I just have one more item and that's it, okay? Under reminders and notes, We are working on the LED streetlight changeover. Just wanted to remind you about that. You can read that. And the shell fund contracts, we've asked our treasurer to review the costs for the public works portion of the contract, since we have a labor agreement already in existence with them, and we know what those are. She's putting some numbers together that I hope to be able to share with you. Hopefully I wanted to have it tonight. If not tonight, because I don't have it tonight, I may give it to you on the 16th. Even if you don't talk about it, I may have it available for you to look at, so you could start the process. With police, of course, with that contract up in the air, I don't know what to do about that.
We would just run through with a 2.5 and say that it's adjustable based upon the negotiations.
Oh, okay. 2.5.
I don't think we're going to have any problem with that.
Okay.
So get that get that moving. Okay.
That's what we'll do. That's all I have then, unless you have a question for me.
Okay, let's move on to the solicitor's report. I just hope we didn't steal all your thunder, Mr. Corbel.
No, that was the second one. That one wasn't on the agenda. I just also wanted to bring up the sewer memorandum of understanding. This is the agreement that I drafted about sharing the costs of the repairs that are necessary and the contributory contributions from all the other entities. Bob Ziskow shared that with the other municipalities, and we've received no comments from the solicitors or otherwise. So at this point, my suggestion is that, so as not to delay things any longer, to put it on the agenda for next Wednesday, adopting that a memorandum of understanding in a form acceptable to the solicitor and to the manager, just in case, one of the solicitors looks at it and has some kind of, minor tweak, that we're not locked into it and have to approve it again at a future meeting. That Steve and I will deal with it unless it's a major change, and then obviously we'll bring it back to council for
Is
discussion.
that just a simple motion, or does it need to be a resolution?
I would say a simple motion is fine,
Okay.
Steve. Yeah. So this is, Patty brought this up, I think, at the last committee meetings. The boroughs tab is about $180,000, give or take, and the other municipalities range from 10 to 40 or 50,000. I think the total project is close to 3, if I remember. So, and the reason you all have the bigger portion is because you're contributing most of the water and flow to the system itself. So, so that was my one suggestion. And other than that, I discussed the issue with the disaster declaration, and that's the end of my report.
Okay, so let's get that done, that MOU, so that we can move on that. I think that's been reviewed several times, and everybody has agreed that it's a fair share in
Yep.
terms of their contribution to the total bill.
It's all modeled off we did a different one. How many years ago was that, Steve? 7, 8 years ago, 10 years ago, something like that with
Yeah.
the fall.
Yes, something like that. You're right.
Yeah, so this isn't being made out of whole cloth. It's been agreed to before, and we don't anticipate any issues this time around.
All right, thank you, Mr. Corbel. And
Sure.
now we have this PennDOT Ardmore work spreading the word. Does somebody want to take ownership of that? Steve?
And I can explain that basically we have started spreading the word about it, but last time we had an exec session, members were concerned, is there another way to do that? I think I've already had it on Twitter. We have it in our Tree City Times. I believe it's been on the website, although I would want to double check that about how extensive this renovation will be. But you folks had still said at exec session, just put it on here in case anybody wanted to add any other way of doing it. PennDOT has also been out there getting the word out too, through the newspapers, but I haven't seen as much on Ardmore and 30 as I have on other projects.
Marcus?
I think it's more importantly that PennDOT actually communicates to all the communicates down Ardmore, like all the commuter communities, that they maybe do something different, go via Monroeville or whatever they can do to avoid us.
Right. Well, and part of the problem too, as Dave Gillen mentioned last week, is we're still not sure if they're on time or not. We don't know if some of the monies would be tied in with that infrastructure thing that the president has been talking about, or if it's already there. And they've talked about shifting money around. They've changed the dates on us several times, although they are having, as I mentioned earlier, Mr. Tomasic signed that sewer issue agreement. So, you know, maybe they're getting closer to it. I don't know. I don't think they've bid it out yet, though. I think that's one reason why we still have to sign that sewer thing. If it had been bid out, that would have been, they wouldn't have needed us to sign anything.
At least we can maybe put some signs up. Just notice there will be major renovation going on for the next 4, you know, like how they do it on interstates. They say partial shutdowns or whatever they do starting whatever date, and then people can plan for it and avoid us.
Well, we could do that once we know.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. So,
But I mean, if it's a long-term issue, we should wait anyway, because if we communicate to people now and it's happening next year, they will have forgotten about it anyway. It needs to be like 2 weeks before it starts. We have to do like some kind of sign campaign or something to tell people.
and PennDOT should be putting up signs themselves. I mean, they usually do, not always timely, but they usually do. So.
Okay. Vest policy, I don't think that comes from the chief. That's his province.
Yeah, he said he wanted me to make sure you guys had it in front of you to review. I didn't know where it was going from there. I guess I'm not sure if you folks need to do a
Well,
vote
if
on it eventually
anybody's
discuss.
interested, what they should do is read it over, and they should then directly contact the chief.
Steve,
Yes,
I'm not sure
Marcus.
if you realize my attachment at least is all empty. It says sewer page 2 of 3, but there are no attachments in my agenda. I'm not sure if I have a bad copy.
Mine was the
All
same.
right,
I think.
same with you, Tom? I must have set the wrong thing on.
Yeah, I think you just got to resend the attachments. That's all, Steve.
Okay, yeah, I'm sorry. I'll get you the vest policy. I'll send it out to everybody just to make sure.
Yeah.
Just the vest policy. As soon as we're done here tonight, in fact, I'll do an email.
Yeah, your entire attachments are all empty, like sewer.
Really?
Yeah,
On all the agendas or just this one?
No, just the committee of the whole.
Oh. Well, I took so much time with that too. Okay, I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, you have like 10 pages and they're all empty. I mean, it says what you wanted to put on.
This is empty, I guess. I don't know. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Oh, I have it on mine. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay,
And you just
regardless,
printed.
the next item is the CDC traffic calming, Ardmore and camera system.
Well, that was from the mayor and he's not available.
That's
so,
all right. We can
yeah.
discuss it. Mr. Corbel, we might need you on this because when you're talking about a traffic study, I don't know what we're going to be looking at. In terms of a camera system, I think that's restricted by the state as to who can do it, when they can do it, and where they can do it. And I don't believe we're one of the agencies that is permitted to do to place them on the highways to do anything with them whatsoever. Do you want to speak to that?
Well, with respect to the cameras, typically PennDOT puts the cameras on its roads. However, they do allow local agencies to erect cameras there as well. I know in the North Hills that at least one community that has McKnight Road, which is a state road, have their own set of cameras that the police department uses. Now, there are multiple sets of cameras. There are PennDOT cameras, there are that township's cameras, and there's also those cameras that the district attorney puts up that reads the license plates, etc. So there is an opportunity for that. And then with respect to the traffic study, anything you do on a PennDOT road from a traffic study perspective, you have to work with PennDOT on. They will gladly allow a local municipality to fund and conduct a traffic study, but they have to sign off on it, sign off on the scope, the methods, and all that sort of thing. So that's possible too, but both of these situations require a sit down with the PennDOT representatives for whatever district you all are located in.
Yeah, we had spoken with the DA's office years ago, and nothing came of it in terms of the cameras and the reading of the license plates and so on. In fact, they came out and I think both Frank and I were with one of the representatives and we presented our case and nothing ever happened. It just went by the wayside.
Those cameras aren't on Ardmore.
Pardon me?
I said, I'm surprised that those cameras aren't on Ardmore.
If they are, it's a secret because, like I said, we discussed it in detail with him, and maybe they're down there and we don't know about it. Who knows?
Secret
Uh,
You can tell they
I-
usually are on the back end of a traffic light, and they're, they're not facing traffic. They're facing the other way, so they read your license plate.
Right.
Yeah, we don't have that. We have those sensors to detect if people are waiting at a red light.
Right, I remember those, like the siren detectors that'll
Yeah,
flip
we have that, and we have like on some intersections we have those sensors. You like the lights are smart now. They
those
wait-
adaptive traffic
Yeah.
signals. Right.
Exactly, but they're just sensors. I don't think they're cameras.
Right.
Specifically,
That's good, Tom.
sorry, Bill. I think what we can ask Frank later next time he's on it. This isn't a real rush issue. I think what he asked to have on here specifically is that to see if the state can program those cameras and the traffic signals to coincide with driving at the speed limit and not. So if you're driving 40, 35 or 45 miles an hour, depending on where you're at, you'll catch all the green lights. If you're driving 55 miles an hour, you're going to hit a red light. Try to encourage, a
I don't know if those cameras do that or not. I thought they were always designed to.
yeah, I think the way that system works is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Talk to Chuck.
Point of it.
I believe Chuck, when I discussed that with him, you have all the cross traffic and then everything changes as the day and the traffic changes. So whenever you end up with all these people coming out of Yost Boulevard, for example, at night you might sit there. You'll be lucky to get through the light when you're coming off of Yost at certain points, but during the middle of the day, it's extended, which then changes everything going all the way up the boulevard. So, they put those in there because they want traffic to go through as fast as possible. That was my understanding. But if somebody has an idea that, I just have problems with trying to monitor Ardmore Boulevard with speed because if you do get the lights, you can only go so far to get to the next light or to get through. So all that traffic is going up there and moving at a steady pace. And as long as you don't have the cross traffic, for example, at Braddock, you have that green light for a long period of time. And what will happen is people will see that green light and they'll say, I got it, so I'm going to make sure I get through there. That's what people are making adjustments on all the time in terms of their own speed. But anyway, anything we can do to reduce the problem with speeding, I'm in favor of. Okay, well, so that takes number 5. There's no other calendar items, so I assume we are done with the meeting. Okay, thank you all, everybody. Have a good one.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody. See you next week.